So jumping onto the phone now, we're going to be using 4 different apps for this edit. The first one being Lightroom for the raw processing, PicsArt for the overall composite, Snapseed for the selective adjustments, and Facetune for the final touches and color grading. I know it's a paid app, but trust me, it's worth it. It does a lot and it is powerful when you know how to use it. Starting off with Lightroom, I'm going to go ahead and open up the first raw image, the one with the lighting, and make some of my typical adjustments. You really can't go wrong here, it's just up to your own personal preference. Now here is the before and after with just Lightroom alone. Just a subtle change and mainly enhancing the shadows. Then I'm going to go ahead and copy the settings from this picture onto the one with no lighting, just so that the backgrounds match better and that they're easier to combine in PicsArt. And now that the settings are pasted, they're ready to be saved and open to the next app, which is PicsArt. Now this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. This is where we're going to do all the composite work, take out the hand, and add all the elements that are needed. So the first thing we're going to do is add a photo, and the photo being the image without the light. Now sorry, my friend is texting me. Just give me a moment. Okay, thank you. Okay, back to it. Now like I said, it's gonna be the removal of the light and the hand that is in the frame. Just in case you did get it, I typically do, which is why I'm doing this in the first place. And I'm just going to cut it out using the cutout tool, trace over the selection that I want, and I'm just vaguely going to get the part where I think the light is at. It doesn't have to be perfect, I mean it could always be fixed later on. And here I'm just gonna do my best to make a decent job. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm just trying to hide it, and it is blurred anyways, so it makes it even easier. And I think that looks okay, it looks pretty fine to me. We can even go ahead and cover it with the jellyfish to hide the imperfections. Now here, going to go ahead and add another photo. These are going to follow kind of the same steps for each. So with this jellyfish, I'm just going to go ahead and blend it into the screen mode and move it to where I think it would be, and basically where the light was, just because that was the direction it came in and it covers the imperfections. And then I'm going to also adjust the hue just so it matches a little bit better and looks more cohesive throughout. Now before we do anything else, we should crop the image just so we know exactly what we're working with and we don't have to work outside what is going to be cropped anyways if you are uploading to Instagram. I do this typically for work that is just for Instagram, so it just saves a lot of time and a lot of effort. So here we go, that is exactly the canvas we're going to be working with, and we can go on from here and focus on filling in these areas. I'm going to start by using this image, which I think works perfect for the corners and just to fill up that part of the frame. And again, we're going to be using this in the blend mode screen. And what's different about this one is we're going to use the lens blur option that PicsArt gives. It works pretty well. And I think that looks fine. On to the next. Again, the same procedure as all the other jellyfishes. Again, I think this one works great for the corner. Again, with screen and about right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same blur method as the previous jellyfish and make it look as if it's out of focus. Again, I think this one needs a bit of a hue adjustment. It looks a little too red. Then that's fixed. And I'm also going to try to make it less bright and popping out just because it is a background element. I don't want it to hog up too much of your attention. I think that's fine. And then I made this one in Photoshop. It's just a radial filter that I think works perfect for slight to glow. Again, with screen mode, I think it makes the perfect touch just for a more dreamy look. And just place it over the main glowing object in the scene, and I'm going to use a very low opacity just so it doesn't look too overwhelming. And you can even build upon this just because it is a very low opacity, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Make it a little bit bigger so it covers more of an area, and again with screen at a very low opacity. Then to add a bit of an atmosphere, we go ahead and add some specks. This is something I also created in Photoshop. I could use a brush instead, but in this case, since we are using a phone, this overlay works the best. Screen is basically used in all of these images. I'm going to place it right where the main jellyfish is, again just to make it look more dreamy, give it a bit of an atmosphere and a little bit of a more detailed touch. And last but not least, we're going to be using a picture of out of focus bokeh. This is actually taken from the previous video of one of my hacks that I do with all of my photos, so these are things that I actually use. And that is it for the composite. Now all you need to do is go into Pixar's recent feature and click that, and it basically lets you add a photo that's your entire edit merged into one photo. And just make sure you expand it and align everything properly. Just lower the opacity to check, make sure everything's fine. And then go ahead and higher the contrast and lower the brightness. And then go ahead and click on the screen mode yet again. This will brighten all of the already bright areas of the photo. And then blur this using a regular blur filter and make it a slight blur. And then once that's done, you'll see that it adds this kind of like hazy, kind of dreamy feel to the entire image, and I love this. I do it to every one of my pictures. It really makes it pop in my opinion, and all you need to do is lower the opacity to make it however intense you want it to be. And that is it for the Pixar selection. All you gotta do is save that, and we can move on to Snapseed. Now jumping on to Snapseed, this is where again we're gonna do all of our selective adjustments. So go ahead, open the photo just done from Pixar, and I'm gonna go ahead into the tools bar and selective option, and I'm gonna go ahead and brighten the bottom of the sky and darken the top of the sky, just so it looks like the sun is just setting, even though the sun was long gone when we took this photo. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and just brighten things that I think should be brightened, like around the jellyfish, and intensify basically everything else I want, like just darken around the edges, and just overall of a higher, more punchier picture with brightness and contrast. Just like everything else in this tutorial is basically all of your personal preferences, but this is what I typically do. I like to just mess around and see what I think works the best. And moving on to the curves, just to give it a bit of a warmer feel, I'm going to go ahead and increase red, kind of mess with that, the blues and the greens, just very, very subtle changes. Before and after, very minute, but I kind of feel like I kind of want a magenta tone back, so I'm going to go into white balance and get a tint of magenta in there. And that is it. Save that, modify it, and the photo is done. And we can move on to Facetune for the final touches of the edit. Now, what people don't really know about Facetune or really give credit to Facetune for is their filters. They have a lot of filters and I love them so much when used at a very, very subtle amount. And here my favorite is Pastel 1. I typically go for that one just because it's a very aqua blue color, as well as a mix of others, just at like 2% to 10% is where I go for. And these as well, just to hide the contrast and make the picture that much more punchier. Before and after, I'm liking it. And then the detail brush, just to give the eyes and eyebrows and slight features just more deeper tone to them. And now we go to the patch tool to just fix some blemishes. I mean, we all have them. No big deal here. Just the last touch of the picture and it'll be done. And that is it. That is the before and after of the Facetune portion. Very subtle, but I do think it made the last change to make the picture very like me, and I'm satisfied and I'm happy. And that is it, before and after using all 4 apps. And yeah, hopefully you guys were able to follow along and that I provided enough information for you to get a good idea of my process, but everything will be linked out in the description just in case you want to copy exactly what I did. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching yet again, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, I just wanted to make this quick little video at the end just to show my gratitude and to say thank you to everyone who's been waiting so long for my next video, especially those who've been following me for a while. They know that I took so long to this, but again, it's just because this new kind of content has been a bit of a learning curve. It takes me the longest time to make the simplest of edits, I swear. It's a lot. And next year I promise things will get so much better. It's always about improvement, and 2019 has been crazy. So I just want to thank everyone who's been showing me so much love and so much just careness of things that I love to make. Like, that's insane. This wasn't like this last year at all. And yeah, hope for the best for next year. See you guys in the next decade, and until the next one, and goodbye.